After years of hearing from the powers at be, or the powers that be, who cares, that there's no way that we could have an extended college football playoff, here we are. And today is the big day where 3 of the 4 games are going to take place. I'm going to talk about them in just a second, as well as recap Notre Dame and Indiana in a game that transparently didn't feel like a playoff game whatsoever, right down to the network it was on. But I'll dive into that in just a second. Welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here. It's a weird time for us Clemson fans. I'm glad that I'm glad to see that everybody's all chipper and excited, and it will be a fun one, hopefully a fun one tonight in Austin. But if you like talking Clemson football, if you like talking college football, I hope you'll subscribe. Someone gave me this thought, said, hey, refer to yourself as independent media. So if you like supporting independent media with no strings attached, just a guy here talking about college football, I hope you'll subscribe. Remember, it is free, so I do appreciate it. Let's dive into the game last night. I know us Clemson fans want to talk about Texas and Clemson tonight, and I'm going to get there. I want to talk about all these games because it's extremely important to look at this entire landscape. But last night, Notre Dame and Indiana played in South Bend. It's just the first home game at Notre Dame that hasn't been televised on NBC. And throughout the night, that was mentioned a lot. I watched a lot of the game, and it was just really, really weird because if you watch Notre Dame every now and again, even if you hate them, you're like, oh, they're on NBC. They were not on NBC last night as far as a home game for the first time since, the early 90s. It was really, really crazy. But I told someone yesterday or last night, I said, if you didn't tell me that this was a playoff game, you took the patches off their jerseys, I would have really never thought that this was a playoff game. Really. It didn't seem like a playoff game. I know if you're a Notre Dame fan or especially an Indiana fan, you're going to take offense at this. I just want to give you the public service announcement. I tell the truth about my team, and if I can tell the truth about my team, a team that I grew up literally in the shadow of the stadium, a team that it's Clemson's more than just some school someone moved 8 hours away, 12 hours away to go to, and hey, that's good and stuff. I'm not taking away from that. I literally grew up in the community. I have a ton of my family in that community. So if I can tell the truth about them, I'm definitely going to tell the truth about you. Indiana did some really good things this year. Cignetti produced the best team that's ever played at Indiana. But we all know that when they played a team with a pulse, and Ohio State had a pulse, they lost. They didn't play Penn State, or that would have been loss number 2. They didn't play Oregon. That would have been loss number 3. Michigan, other than, Ohio State can't beat them. Michigan had a rough year this year. Why? I'll tell you why they had a rough year. It's because they lost their coach. They lost a lot of the talent from last year, and stuff like that happens. It does, and we hate it unless, you don't like Michigan. I don't have a dog in the fight here or a Buckeye to roast, but I'm just saying beating Michigan this year was not like beating Michigan last year. But Indiana won their ball games. They beat the teams they were supposed to beat. And used to, they have so many years of losing to teams that even at times they were supposed to beat. So kudos to them on the season. Indiana Hoosier fans, I'm not knocking you. I think that what Cignetti did was incredible. But it comes back to football logic. I talk about this all the time. If you're someone who seriously watches football, you saw last night coming. Now, if you look at the score right now, and you're like, Brian, I looked at the score, and it looked like it was pretty close, 27-17. Let me help you. It was 27-3 in the fourth quarter. Indiana couldn't move the football to save their life. On their very first drive, they were moving the ball, and at about the 11-15 mark of the first quarter, As soon as they move the ball, their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, a guy who's a fifth or sixth year senior, throws a ball high, throws an interception. He was basically throwing into triple coverage. I think it was triple coverage. It was at least double coverage. Threw it high. The ball gets intercepted. The very next play, Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love peels off a 98-yard touchdown run. What did he finish rushing with the game? So that one carry got him 98 yards. What did he finish? What was his final rushing stats for the game? 8 carries, 108 yards. So that means that on the next 7 carries, the guy only amassed 20 yards. Nope, I'm wrong. 10 yards. Poor math this morning. Coffee's not kicking in. I'm sorry about that. 7 carries for 10 yards. Just a touch over a yard per carry. And I don't think that Jeremiah Love got hurt in this game. But listen to this. They were up 27-3 in the fourth quarter. Indiana does an onside. No, they score a touchdown. Then they do an onside and they get it. I'm sorry. And then they go down and they score. And it's 27-17. They go for an onside again. And their kicker does a great job with the onside kick. I'm telling you, that joker, he can if anyone wants someone just to do onside kicks, I was truly impressed by his ability to do that. But Indiana came on way too late. Probably Notre Dame was taking their foot off the pedal a little too early, and it made the game look respectable. Again, congratulations to Indiana for what they did this year. They finished the season 11-2. They've never done that. Last night I saw a stat that Indiana has the most losses all time. That's crazy. That's how bad it's been for them. But with that said, that did not look like a college football playoff game at all. Some people are going to take the opinion, well, this was just a hard-fought game. Of course, opinions, everyone has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion, and you're entitled to yours. But I didn't see a struggle last night. I saw an Indiana team who was much improved versus their history, but at the end of the day, they were a team who didn't have to play 2 of the toughest teams in their conference. And so they walk in with a false sense of we're actually a playoff team. And they played like it. Notre Dame, I'm going to say something, Notre Dame fans, I really don't have a problem with Notre Dame at all. I've been a fan of Riley Leonard. The guy can play. But I want to tell you, I wasn't impressed with Notre Dame last night. Notre Dame struggled against this football team. I was not impressed with Notre Dame last night. And now they have to go play Georgia. And Georgia, I don't think they'll have Carson Beck. I think it'll be Gunnar Stockton. But, I mean, good luck there. Notre Dame's schedule as a whole has not looked amazing on the last part of the season. Army ended up laying a turd against Navy. Well, that's the Army-Navy game. Okay, great. But still, Army didn't look as dominant as they had looked all season long in that game. Notre Dame really didn't have to play a great Southern Cal team. And we can talk about Texas A&M, but that's the very first ball game of the year. And if you talk about the very first ball game of the year, you have to talk about the second ball game of the year. This game did not look like a college football playoff game. And you're like, Brian, why do you keep rambling about that? You look at Indiana, who they didn't play mattered. They didn't play this team. And if you're an Indiana fan, you step back, you look at me, and you go, hey, what about Clemson, bud? Yeah, I agree with you. See, you thought you were going to zing me there because normally people are going to be hypocritical about their own football teams. That's the difference with this channel. I get things wrong. I am biased at times. But I say the quiet part out loud about my own team. Clemson, if they go out and get the tiger paw ripped off their helmet tonight, they shouldn't have been there. And I've been telling people that over and over and over. Clemson got lucky. I don't believe in luck, but Clemson got lucky. We just use that word. Clemson got lucky all the way. I've never seen a team fail forward like this other than maybe that 8-8 New York Giants team that won the Super Bowl many, many years ago. So if you want to take a shot at Clemson, you are 100% correct. Clemson has failed forward. And Indiana, they played a schedule that they played one team with a pulse, and that team thumped them. And that was Ohio State. So this didn't, who you play does matter. And I'm challenging every person who's watching this video today, no matter whether you like my team or you hate one specific team so much to where you throw logic to the side, or you just can't stand me. That's fine. That's totally fine. That's what happens when you put yourself in front of a camera and you go live. A lot of people can't do it. A lot of people thumps their chest and acts like they're big stuff until they have to make their opinion known, and you can get slapped around. Me, I'm just like, hey man, it is what it is. Kind of part of the whole gig thing. So I have to take it, but I'm going to challenge. I'm going to challenge people out here. Learn from this process. Indiana shouldn't have been in the playoff by looking at their schedule. You look at their schedule and you say, who did they not play? Well, they didn't play Penn State and they didn't play Oregon. When they played someone, how did it turn out? They got thumped. Well, how can you say that? Just by reading? Anyway, Indiana's season is over. Cignetti's going to have to replace probably a lot of that team. I know Rourke is gone. He's going to have to replace a lot of that team. Let me see. Surratt's a junior. Surratt played well last night. Surratt played very well last night. Cat can play football, but you have Notre Dame going to Georgia, and that's going to be that's going to be interesting. Has the line came out on that? Believe it or not, Georgia's only a 1-point favorite at this point. Only a 1-point favorite. And a lot of people are believing that Notre Dame's going to beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. You know, I'm not a Georgia fan whatsoever, but I am a realist, and I just don't see that. I mean, is Gunnar Stockton going to lay a golden turd? Let's get to the comments section real quick. What's up, Fireball? Good to see you. It's game day, Mr. 2X. What's up, Be Real, Noah Denton? It's good to see you, my man. Good to see you in here. Country won't see South Carolina. A great story with the Coach of the Year, future Heisman, Rocket Sanders, defensive player. One of the best stories in college football this year. You know what, M. Ballou, you know I'm not a Gamecock fan whatsoever. I'm a Clemson Tiger through and through. Don't like the Gamecocks at all. But then again, I'm talking logical football. I agree with you. I think South Carolina would have played Notre Dame a lot better last night than Indiana. I really do. And I mean, if we're going to tell the truth across the board, the truth is South Carolina deserved to be, as much as it makes me want to puke, deserved to be in that game last night a lot more than Indiana. You line up South Carolina and Indiana head-to-head, I know who's going to win that game, and it's not Indiana. Let's go, Tigers. Chad Godfrey, as a Clemson fan and grad, we have officially fallen behind in our coaching of our young men on the football team. This league is going to be the minor league for the NFL. Chad Godfrey, I agree with you 100%. It's already the minor league for the NFL. And I've talked about this at nauseum. You have to have elite coaching. You get elite coaching, you can actually kind of fall off in recruiting, and they'll develop these players. So I'm not going to go into all of that because people are already rolling their eyes. But it's like I said on my prediction video for the Clemson-Texas game I released yesterday. I said, listen, some of you get mad because I keep bringing up the problem. I'm not one of these guys who's driving around on a flat tire, and I'm like, hey, guys, stop talking about the flat tire. Turn the music up so I don't have to hear it go thump, dee-thump, 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 dee-thump. Oh, is there sparks? Oh, no. Oh, the tire actually came off the wheel. Guys, put up some tent where I don't see the fire back there. I'm not that guy. But a lot of people are they are that guy when it comes to certain things, and football is one of them. So I agree with you. Imagining the problem doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. That's a lot of mind over matter. Westlake Dad going to the game today. Kate is as ready as he can be. I don't have an update on Moffa, but was told backup Adams is a beast if needed. Hey, Westlake Dad, it's good to see you, my friend. Westlake Dad, he and I have been emailing one another for a while, and this guy, really cool dude. I said Dad while I'm looking at your name, but Westlake Dad, thanks for all the information you shared with me. It means a lot to me, and a lot of you will just email me and say, hey, man, I know this or I know that or blah, blah, blah. Westlake Dad has definitely been a friend to the show. So if you can pass a message to Cade from me, which I know, that's probably impossible at this point, but we're pulling for him, man. We're pulling for him. Guys had to overcome a lot Cade's had to overcome a lot at Clemson. He was dealt a really bad hand at Clemson. People are like, he rushed the pass. Yeah, that is a trait of someone who's played behind an offensive line that was non-existent. Development, non-existent. 4-star players who were playing like 1-stars. Why? Development. And so, folks, if you're going to come down on a guy and rip him a new one, how about you look at all the variables first? I'm guilty of doing that as well. I do that from time to time. I'll misspeak on about a team, or it'd say, man, I shouldn't have said that. I try to come back and tell y'all, hey, I messed up on that. Cade Klubnik is definitely one of them, folks. He's definitely one of them. Westlake Dad, good to see you. Take care. Matthew, it's good to see you. Good to see you, my buddy. Troy, go Buckeye. Shane Bentley. That game was pretty underwhelming. It was pretty dadgum cold. Shane Bentley, thanks for supporting the channel. I see the symbol beside your name. Beside your name, it means that he supports the channel $3 or $5 per month. So if y'all want to do that, there's a join button below the video. Shane Bentley, thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it, man. Good to see you in here. Tom McLaughlin, Google me, Signetti. I haven't beat a top 25 team. Yeah, Tom McLaughlin. Yeah, that was interesting. Jordan Jackson, I haven't seen the new JUCO rule, but I need to look into it. I'm glad you're in here, my man. Wayne, I'm not even going to butcher your name. I hope the offensive line is healthy. Me too, because it's funny. I talked about the offensive line, and now we have Mount Luke, and even with a beat-up offensive line, this guy can develop those guys very, very well. Even there. And what was Luke's response? When the whole topic of injuries came up, he said, hey, that's why I'm here. Folks, that's a man answer. Come on, y'all. Let me see. If Cade can get the support he needs, he has the potential to be a great NFL quarterback. Dale, thanks for supporting the channel. I see the symbol beside your name. The guy's got to continue to develop, but Clemson has to do that part. Yeah, I think that it's interesting that quarterbacks are having to leave their university, or universities are having to bring in quarterback gurus to work with them during the offseason, when what they need to do is they need to put their money where their mouth is and hire the best guru you can get a true expert at quarterback position, and have them there day in and day out. Someone who is dedicated to that process. So, Marsh 053, Texas by 90. Good to see you, Marsh 053. Okay, let's get into the games. Talked about Notre Dame and Indiana, how underwhelming it is. By the way, there's 64 of you in here right now. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will subscribe. I want to tell you this. I know that I kind of waited to beat this drum 20 minutes in, instead of at the beginning of the video, because y'all get tired of it. You're like, Brian, I'm tired of hearing about it. But I looked at my analytics the other day, and it was crazy how many new viewers I have. So, and then people who are returning viewers, you haven't subscribed, and you watch all the time. So if you haven't subscribed, you want to support independent media, someone who's just, there's no strings attached. And listen to me, for those out there who they have sponsors and they have ties to the universities, they're not bad guys. They're doing what they have to do to keep subscriptions coming in. They're doing what they're doing to keep sponsors coming in and to keep their jobs. I respect that. I understand that. Now, if they get vile and they just purposely lie, I don't respect that. But there's a lot of good guys out there who this is their career. And so for them, I'm not dogging them, but I am independent and there's no strings attached to me. I can say what I want. I don't have to worry about someone hitting me up going, hey, why'd you say that? Anyway, if you want to support someone like that, I hope you will subscribe. It is free. Okay, let's get into the rest of the games for the day. So the first game of today is SMU and Penn State. Give you kind of the overall setup for this game. It kicks off 12 o'clock, TNT, or it streams on Max. Penn State is an 8-point favorite. Both teams are 11-2. This game is in Happy Valley, and I think it's like 27 degrees. I haven't checked to see if it snowed there. If anybody wants to drop that in the comment section, please do. Drew Aller comes into this game 2,894 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. You got Nick Singleton coming in with 838 yards, 7 touchdowns. Their leading receiver is Tyler Warren. Their tight end, 1,062 yards, 88 receptions. This guy's a big dude, 6'6", 257 pounds. On the other side, you have Kevin Jennings, 3,050 yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. You have wide receiver turned running back, Brashard Smith, 1,270 yards, 14 touchdowns. You have Roderick Daniels Jr., 599 yards and 3 touchdowns in the air. You come into this game, you look at both of these teams, and you realize something. They're a lot alike in the sense of when they had to play someone, they lost. Now, when I look at SMU and I look at Penn State, I have a lot of grace for SMU. You're like, why? Well, because Rhett Lashley has taken this team in his 3rd season to the college football playoff. He's taken his team to the this is year number 3 he has them in the college football playoff. He got them to the conference championship game. They've won 11 ball games. You turn and you look at Penn State. James Franklin has been at Penn State for how many years? What's his record against good football teams? It's not good. James Franklin is not a bad coach, but he reminds me a lot of Mark Richt, and Mark Richt's a good guy. Mark Richt was one of those guys. He could get Georgia 10 wins, and he could get them close to the national championship. He could get them to an SEC championship. But when it came time to win a national championship or get them in the national championship game, they were always short. That was it. And that's James Franklin. Now, in my preview, and you can go check it out, I picked Penn State to win this ball game. By the way, I picked Notre Dame to win the game over Indiana. I don't think that's a shocker over, for anyone at all. Is it impossible for SMU to win this game? No. They're an 8-point dog. But Penn State, I think they just have a little too much for SMU. If SMU beats Penn State, it's going to be funny. I just think Penn State gets this game in Happy Valley in the weather that they're used to. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that, and I think sometimes it can be just a talking point to a point. But folks, when you're out in weather and you're trying to perform at a certain level and you're not used to that weather, it affects you. Think about teams who comes into Clemson, South Carolina in September, heck, even in October, according to how the weather is kind of the weather pattern for that year. You can come into Clemson in late October and it's still hot. You get there in September and it's burning up and you have 100% humidity. Guys who aren't used to that, man, they are dying. Same thing here. You go into a 27-degree stadium. There's 100 and something thousand people there. And suddenly, catching a football is not like it normally is. It's like a rock being thrown at you. There's no give. There's no this. There's no, this, that, and the other. See, Carolina Jackpot's in here. Good to see you, Jackpot. Timmy B's in here. Great to see all of you. Jackpot says I should take the Indiana off the thumbnail. They never belonged and got beat like a drum. It's funny. It's funny. So SMU and Penn State, 12 o'clock on TNT or Max. I just see Penn State winning this ballgame. I do. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that SMU actually pulls this one off. But it would be seen as an upset. It really would be seen as an upset. Let's move on. I'm going to leave the Clemson game last. 8 o'clock tonight, you have Tennessee playing Ohio State. Both teams are 10-2. Ohio State is a 7-point favorite. The game kicks off 8 o'clock on ABC. Ryan Day, a lot of people believe he is coaching for his job. Let that just set in real quick. Just sit there and think about that. A man that's 10-2 could be playing for his job, and he's in the college football playoff. Why would that be? Because of all the money that they've blown on the roster? That they could lose to Michigan last year, and that team ended up being the national champions. And hey, yeah, you're an Ohio State fan. You're like, dude, I still don't care. But this year, losing to this Michigan team, you spent all that money on a roster? And everybody's like, we were supposed to buy the good players. Yeah, you were supposed to. Tennessee comes into this game, totally different situation. Tennessee comes into this game, and I was talking to a Tennessee fan last night, and they said, hey, look, we're ahead of schedule. We're ahead of schedule with Heupel. This year, we felt like if we could get out 8-4, and those 4 losses had been closer ball games, that with a redshirt freshman quarterback, of course you want to win more games, but you would say, okay, 8-4, redshirt freshman quarterback, will be all right. They're 10-2 and in the college football playoff. Josh Heupel loses this ball game. As long as he doesn't get blown out, guess what? Josh Heupel comes out looking like a flipping hero. Ryan Day wins this ball game. He barely wins this ball game. He comes out looking like a loser who just won a football game. That's where Ohio State's at with him. So it's a tale of two different teams. The pressure's on Ohio State. Tennessee wants to win this game. Vols fans, you want to win this game. I get it. I understand it. But they don't have to win this game. Ohio State has to win this game. It's in the horseshoe. It's going to be freezing up there at game time. Freezing. It's going to be kind of the same situation as Penn State. And guess what's going to happen? I think that Ohio State, I picked Ohio State to win this ball game. I did. Vols fans, it's not because I want that. No offense to Eric Boggs over at the OHIO podcast, my buddy over there. But I'm not an Ohio State fan. Volunteers, I'd like to see you win this ball game. I just think that you're going up against a guy who is absolutely desperate, and he has to get out of this round. And if he can get out of this round, he could live to see another day. But this, no pun intended, day. But I see Ohio State winning this ball game because I question the consistency of Nico at this point of his career. At this point in his career, I question his consistency. I saw him not do too well at certain times this year. Throw certain passes that didn't make sense. Run out of bounds when he should have threw the ball up for grabs. I think that was the Arkansas game. And that was many weeks ago, and we all live and we all learn. But remember, weeks ago still is weeks ago. It's not months ago. It's not years ago. It's weeks ago. Think about you. Hey, I made a mistake several weeks ago. Do you remember that mistake? And I'm not talking about Nico. I'm talking about you. Well, he made that mistake. Most people, they repeat mistakes. And in this scenario, I just think if he just showed me more consistency, I would take Tennessee. But really, I'm looking at Nico going, the guy has an unbelievable upside. He's just got to cash in, and I just don't see him cashing in right now. Hope he does. But just sit and think about that. Ryan Day is coaching for his flipping job today, and he's in the college football playoff. That's how bad Ohio State wants this. Whether part of their expectations is wrong or whether it's right, I'll let you decide that. Let's go on over to the Clemson game. So far, and you can check this out. You can go look at it from earlier this week, so you can be like, hey, Brian did say that. I predicted that Notre Dame would win. I think that's a gimme. I have Penn State. Penn State wins the ball game. I believe they'll win the game. I have Ohio State, though I hope Tennessee wins. I have Ohio State winning the ball game. Let's get to Clemson and Texas. 4 o'clock, my friend. 4 o'clock on TNT, streaming on Max. Texas, listen to this. Texas opened as a 10.5-point favorite. They are now a 13.5-point favorite going into the game. Texas, all the pressure's on them, all the money they spend, the celebrities on the sideline, the Manning on the bench. Klubnik playing against Ewers. The last time these two guys played, Klubnik got the best of him in a state championship game. I'm talking about big-time Texas football. It's not like one of these little 1A, no offense to anyone who played 1A football, but it's not like playing in 1A football here in the state of South Carolina and you walk around with your chest poked out the rest of your life like you did something. No, this guy played at the highest level of high school football in the flipping country. That's why I think it's rich when people start ripping on Cade. Instead of going, hold on, who's been developing this guy? Let me just rephrase that. Who hasn't been developing this guy? And hey, some of my most loyal viewers disagree with me on that, and we politely disagree. But there's some people who gets, absolutely vile against Cade, and I'm sitting here going, dude, in high school, even if you played, you probably wasn't good enough to tie the dude's shoes. They wouldn't even put you on the JV team. That's how good his high school football team was. And we've seen this guy develop more and more. It's just you need more development around him. So all of this stuff that is just wrapped into this game, all these layers, Sweeney, 7 playoffs now, 2 national championships. You have Sark on the other side. He's coached at so many well-known places, it's ridiculous. Southern Cal, he was the head coach at Southern Cal. Washington, OC for Saban. This guy is just this guy has done a lot of big things, but he hasn't won a national championship as a head coach. But I just believe that the coaching is just still holding us back. Clemson has not coached on the offensive or defensive side of the football. Their offensive and defensive scheme has not coached a complete game this entire season. What's so special about Game 14? Well, it's college football playoff. Well, what about against SMU? It was for win 10. It was for the conference championship. It was for a trip to the college football playoff. What did they do? They blew a 17-point lead. What about the week before that? You're playing against your rival. You're trying to get your 10th win. You're trying to get into the college football playoff, whether you get into the conference championship or not. And at that time, the Miami-Syracuse game hadn't kicked off. The game was at home. There was a lot on the line then. Same thing. So, I just don't see the coaches coaching a complete football game. Let me rephrase that. I don't see the offensive and defensive schemes and the anticipated adjustments. I just don't see it being enough. Clemson football is playing more scared football than ever. I'm not talking about the players and the intensities and the things that the things they say in the huddle, or the things that they say to the press, or the things they say among themselves. I am totally divorcing the players from the coaching staff. I can look into the eyes of a lot of those players, and I can see the pure disdain after those losses. The want, the desire to do better. And here's what I say to those players. We see it. But your offensive and defensive scheme is not matching up with you. And that's the reason I picked Texas to win this ball game. My mind is screaming, go Tigers. But my football logic goes, are you going to have to get lucky to win this game? You got lucky to get into the playoff. You got lucky. How'd they get lucky? They won their conference. Yeah, after blowing a 17-point lead, they trotted a true freshman out there to hit a 56-yard field goal. That's laughable. Oh, to get into the conference championship game, what had to be done? Well, Miami had to totally waste a 21-point lead against a Syracuse team that's not terrible, but they're not great. Sounds like luck to me. I don't believe in luck, but sounds like luck to me. You lose 3 ball games. You're still in the college football playoff. The only 3-loss team. And they're not an SEC team. Sounds like luck to me. Maybe one season you can say, hey, I'd rather be lucky than good. Okay, maybe for one season that works. But if you're looking to see long-term success based on that theology, based on that idea of it doesn't matter, we'll just fail forward, you will not see long-term success. You won't. And that's why I look at this. Um, that's why I look at this game and I go for the players, for the community I grew up in, being a Clemson Tiger fan with all this Clemson garb around me. I want Clemson to win the game. And then football logic hits me and it goes, they haven't coached a complete game. The offensive and defensive scheme, the lack of adjustments. Well, we made an adjustment, but how is it that the other teams that Clemson plays that are better teams, and Louisville lost 4 ball games this year, and yes, they're not a terrible football team, but Louisville outcoached Clemson in the Valley at night. How did that happen? How is it that when Clemson's playing against a football team that has a smart coach and a little bit of talent, that the move by the other team, who's obviously an underdog, like Louisville, I'm not talking about Georgia and I'm not talking about South Carolina, but obviously an underdog, they can make the correct adjustments for Clemson. But Clemson, the mighty Clemson, who went to all these playoff appearances, or made all these playoff appearances, who won 2 national championships, and now going into college football playoff appearance number 7, they can't make the proper adjustments. This doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. Get in here. Let me see. Brian, did you see that you made someone's Clemson hype video? Yes, I did. I want to say it's BP Bailey. I want to see if I can pull that up. I saw it last night just by chance. I did not see a mention, but I reached out to him. And I told him, I'm going to see if I can pull this up. BP Bailey. I'm going to see if I can find this. I think is it BP Bailey or something like that? Because I sure would like for y'all to go check him out and let him know that I mentioned it. He comes on here and comments a lot, and he's been a big supporter. Bailey BP, that's it. Bailey BP. I am going to copy this link, and I'm going to ask everyone, if you will go check him out. I'm putting it in the chat as I speak. Go check out this video. It's already got a bunch of views on it. He already has a bunch of views. But if we could get him more views, please do that. Go over there and subscribe to him and check that out. But I just put it in the live chat. But yeah, he did a really, really good job. Let's see. Sid Irish. Hey, I know you don't like ND, but we're pulling for Clemson. It's not actually I don't have a problem with Notre Dame. I'm one of those weird Southerners that actually likes Notre Dame. I don't have a problem with them actually. But let me see. But yeah, I'm reading through my comments and I'm just But yeah, I just felt like last night they just didn't look good. It just didn't look good. The Gaston family, Sheldon Brown was a teammate of mine at 1A Louisville and went all pro with the Eagles. That's cool. That's cool. The point I was making is that most people would take a shot at Cade and they forget the guy was playing at the highest level of college or high school football. I mean, that's a big, big deal. And that's a really great story, and I appreciate you throwing that in the comments section. But that's not a shot at 1A'ers. It's just I've seen a lot of guys who have they're taking a shot at a guy who could outplay them any day of the week, even when they were at their prime. So that's kind of the point. But I appreciate you throwing that in there. Let me see. Paul Batro doesn't like my hat. You're not 20. Turn your hat around if you're going to represent Clemson. Look professional. Thanks, Paul. Ohio State is no joke in the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see. Cookie Monster, I think that they're, and I love the name, Cookie. If they if their coach wants to keep his job, he has to win today. There's an orange invasion at Ohio State. I bet there is. Westlake Dad, Cade's high school, Westlake is playing in the Texas State Championship again tonight. Westlake is something else, folks. Westlake is something else. If you missed doing so, smash the like button. Talent is there, coaching is not. You're talking about Clemson, Jacob. Good to see you, my friend. Keep going on down through here. Buckle your chin strap. Your chin strap on. Texas defense will hit you with sledgehammer. Will be a hard-hitting game. SC Dog, I totally look forward to that. Chris Lipscomb, good to see you, my friend. That video had me pumped. Yeah, go check out. Yeah, if you haven't checked out the video I just dropped in there, let me know that you saw it and that I shared it. I commented to him. I was like, dude, great job. You just an incredible job. That was really, really cool. What's funny is I've actually connected with a few people. A few people who use some of my clips. Sports Talk Jay, the big Tennessee fan. I mean, he's got a great show. John is a really cool dude. That's how I found him, was basically one of my clips. He used one of my clips in one of his videos, and I was like, hey man, I really like what you're doing. And, and we just a few years ago started hanging out and having a video here and there. That's what I mean by hanging out. I've never seen the guy in person, but I'm just saying, get him to come on the show and talk about Tennessee football and talk about just college football as a whole. So anyway, it's really, really cool. Well, listen, folks, let's go through a recap of the game. Let's go through a recap of the games for today. So in about an hour and 15 minutes, SMU and Penn State kicks off 12 o'clock on TNT or Max. Penn State's an 8.5-point favorite. I picked Penn State to win this ball game. It's going to be freezing up there. SMU, did they stand a chance? Yes, but I see Penn State winning this game. Let's go on to the 4 o'clock game, Clemson and Texas. Texas, their line just continues to increase. They went from a 10.5-point favorite to a 13.5-point favorite. The game kicks off 4 o'clock in Austin on TNT or Max. I picked Texas to win this game over Clemson. The coaching's just, anyway, I'm not going there anymore. I've explained myself till I'm blue in the face. And then tonight, 8 o'clock on ABC, Tennessee and Ohio State kicks off 8 o'clock on ABC. Ohio State's a 7-point favorite. Ryan Day is coaching to see another day there in Ohio State. And though I'm pulling for Tennessee to win this ball game, they're both 10-2. I believe that Tennessee is unfortunately going to lose to this game. If we see a lot of really good consistency out of Nico, okay, they stand a chance. But if we start to see some of those redshirt freshman moments from Nico, I think that's going to be the difference. The guy has a massive upside, and he's extremely talented. I just think that today, Ohio State, with everything that's going on, with all the pressure of not beating Michigan, with the pressure of $20+ million roster, somebody's going to figure out something to beat Tennessee. So we'll see. So I have Ohio State winning, Texas winning, Penn State winning. I had Notre Dame winning last night, but you can go check out the preview, the prediction for that, so you can see that I'm just not saying that. Anyway, if you like to watch FCS football, there's some really good FCS playoff games going on. So I enjoy watching FCS playoffs. I enjoy watching South Dakota State, North Dakota State. It's always a lot of fun. So just to drop in here and let you know, South Dakota State and North Dakota State play today, 12 o'clock in Fargo. That will be an interesting game, both 12-2. 3:30, South Dakota State and Montana State, they're playing. at Montana State in Bozeman at 3:30. That'll be a lot of fun. So if you want to check out those games, I think it's always really, really interesting. Well, folks, I am going to hop out of here. Do want to ask you, if you have not subscribed to the team, I hope you will. Hope you will subscribe. Hope you will subscribe. And Yoda Soda, what do you think about the Tigers' chances as a Tiger fan? How do you think the game will go? Well, as a Tiger fan, thank you so much, and I like the thumbnail. As a Tiger fan, I hope my team wins. As a football purist, I just think we're going to get out coached. We have the players, we have the talent. Unfortunately, we have lacked the offensive and defensive scheme for an entire game. And I just think that's going to be the difference. That's going to cost us. I'm not worried about playing in Austin. Clemson's played on some in and on some massive stages, in massive games on massive stages. It's just the lack of scheme and the continuity, the proper adjustments. So I'd see that costing us yet again, and that would be loss number 4. Be loss number 4, and then when the season clears, and if I can get everybody to get their head out of, well, we got 10 wins and we made the playoff and we have the conference championship, you step back and you look at those 4 losses and you ask, who did we lose to in those 4 losses? How did we lose? Were we out-coached? What went on there? And that's where I'm trying to get people to look at, because, if you don't fix it in the off season, if you don't make the proper adjustments, tell the coaches it's time to get something. We got to get rolling here. We can't keep going down this path. It just, anyway. Well, folks, y'all take care of yourself. I hope you've subscribed. It is free. I'll try to catch you before the Clemson game and try to do a halftime and post game, win or lose. Y'all take care of yourself, and as always, go Tigers.